Welcome to the Black Belt Business Podcast. My name is Matthew Brenner, and today I am with Reid Presley. He is the co-owner of CE Karate, Competitive Edge martial arts competition team, as well as seminars and workshops for martial arts school. He's also the founder of Equipped, which is an online training platform designed for martial artists and competitors. So, Reid, thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you for having me on here. I'm super excited, and I can't wait to see what we get into today. Thank you again.
Yeah, well, we're already since you're at a competition in you're at a hotel, right? Because you're training some competitors in your team, and with them. So we'll see how this Wi-Fi situation goes, and hopefully we can stay on track. So when I was doing research about you, right, like digging in deep, we'll see what I can find. One of the things that came up first, Reid, was your Bowstaff at AWMA, a martial arts equipment distributor. So you have your own branded Bowstaff. And I was like, damn, that is freaking cool. So how did that happen? How'd you end up getting your own branded Bowstaff?
It's being in the competition world for so long. There's a little bit of breakage that happens with the bow staves when you're competing at a high level, and so people will start to look for, well, what's Reid Presley using for a bow staff? What's Jackson Rudolph using? The high level competitors, because they see us compete, they see us not break it, they see us doing these high level maneuvers that you want the weight and balance to be perfect. So Asian World kind of approached us and my siblings about doing a line of weapons because, you know, with me wanting to be more of a power competitor, my CMX style bow staff is a little bit heavier. And since I like to do double bow staff, they're balanced really well.
Mm,
So you kind of get like a double whammy with a super balanced weapon and one that's built to take strikes.
mm.
So they just kind of were like, hey, let's do this. And then let's have a double bow staff that you can work with. You can order the same size and then you can rock and roll. And then that you're not going to be taking one bow staff that's weighted one way and another bow staff that's different, and then they can kind of lose control. So you just know that you're going to get something of quality for
So
sure.
were you
And
part of the production or design process, or they're like, hey, we're just gonna make it weigh the amount you want it to weigh? Like, how did that work?
so I'm close with Mr. Greenhall, Joe
Okay.
Greenhall with G-Force, and he was making my weapons for a number of years, and he kind of figured out how to go about making double bow staves. So I was involved with it as far as making sure mine were accurate, and then it was kind of like a rinse and repeat for those weapons that Asian World went. And we picked the color scheme. Um, I loved the kind of like the red and gray and the illuminator. I'm a grip bow staff athlete. Sometimes you'll see people, there's like an argument of grip versus no grip.
Okay.
And so, yeah, tried and true. I use them. You got a number of our students at the family school that uses them. So it's good.
Very cool. So is that the only bow staff you'll use now? Like kind of like you have to use your branded staff, or that's what you're used to?
Basically, yes, sir. And then right now, kind of with Joe, I'm experimenting with some other ones, but they're always G-Force, and they're that Illuminator brand.
Very cool. So can you tell us just a little bit of background about your martial arts competitive side, not your teaching side or your own training, but like what you accomplished in the competitive scene of martial arts?
Absolutely. So sometimes those stories kind of go parallel with each other, so I'll try to make it only
Yeah,
competitive.
no, it's okay. Say it any way you
Um,
want. It's all good.
yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir. When I got started in martial arts, my dad was a heavily competitive ball player back in his younger years.
Mhm.
So as soon as he found out that you could compete in martial arts to any extent, I don't really think I had a choice.
Okay.
I was thrown into the competition scene. I started competing on the extreme team, which was run by my instructor, Jason Warren, out of Bartlett Taekwondo. And really, as soon as I started competing, the rest was history. Started out on a regional circuit, RSKC, that overlapped with a national North American Sport Karate Association, NASCA, as most people know it by, at the Bluegrass Nationals. And I was competing as an underbelt, just kind of getting my feet up underneath me. But I remember looking at the nighttime stage. So at these big tournaments, there's always like a big finals. People are there. All the underbelts are watching, the black belts, the cream of the crop, the top athletes.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing like Casey Marks and Matt Emig. And if you guys don't know who these people are, you have to look them up. They're pioneers of sport karate, and just got super inspired. Like, I'm going to be up there. That's going to be me. I have to do everything I can to get on that stage. And so from there, going from a regional circuit more to the national and global circuit, working my way through what people call seeds, which is basically like a point system. So you have to go to a certain amount of tournaments to acquire enough points. And that's really the first barrier to entry, so to speak, in the sport karate world. Is you have to show up, you have to be dedicated, you have to be committed. And once I kind of got a name for myself and started doing that, that's when the world champions started to take place, finally making it on that nighttime stage. And that's where, kind of accrued these, world titles and championships, where sometimes in our sport, we don't even say the number of how many that we've gotten, because you can get them like per division, per nighttime finals, and it kind of sounds like this crazy number. But that competition scene, more or less, really put me into positions of representing teams like Paul Mitchell, which is sponsored by the hair care, of all things in martial arts,
Yeah.
right? They got
Yeah.
hair
That's
care,
always been a
right?
little funny.
And it's like, how did that happen? But represented them, and then that took me to compete in places like Australia, Ireland, Budapest, really all over the place, to do this sport that I love in the competition scene. Now, what really kind of became my big moment was I was a single bow weapons competitor. So like doing all of the crazy releases, doing like the Power Ranger backflips and all of those movements. But I ended up going over to Doha, Qatar, to perform with a performance team called Sideswipe. And during that performance, I ended up just completely rupturing my Achilles heel. It kind of just blew up, exploded, can't use it. And when you kind of go through that feeling of adversity, that feeling of like, what am I going to do? My identity is tied up into this sport that I love. How can I come back and be better from this experience? And we had always joked about, well, what's better than one bow? Well, it's two bows. And so kind of using Bowstaffs as crutches, I developed the
Wait, you
double
actually used
bow.
it as a crutch?
Yes, like especially when I went to the boot phase,
Yeah.
like hopping out on one foot with
Oh
the
my
two
God.
Bowstaffs,
You're a
and
dedicated martial artist. That's funny.
through and through. There was
Yeah.
never a moment of, am I going to get back to competing? It
Yeah.
was like, when can I get back to competing? And when can I show the world this style of Bowstaff, which was double bow.
Was someone else doing
And
that before you? Was there other people that did double bow staff?
so I would say there was one person that did it probably one or two tournaments before I did, and his name is Jarrett Liker, with like Amerikick and things like that. And so he did it at one tournament. Then it was two tournaments later that I kind of rolled it out. So they kind of hit at similar times. We just had a different style of it, and I just kind of stuck with it longer and really made a name for myself with this style of double bow staff, which, I know that there's a lot of martial artists that listen to this podcast, and also business owners and people that like jujitsu and more of the combat sports. I make no claims that double bow staff is a practical weapon that I would use in self-defense. It was purely performance for the sport.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, give me two heavy weighted sticks, and I can still mess you up if I have to.
Well, that's super cool. And I don't know, have you ever seen me do quadruple nunchucks? Have you ever seen that?
I can't say that I have.
Just roll
it sounds
it
like
out.
I'm missing out.
Yeah, just rolling it out next week. No, I'm just messing around.
I got to make sure I have the subscriptions on and notifications when you post that, for sure.
No, yeah, I don't do any of that. But I think it's super cool that you kind of introduced that to the sport, especially a traditional sport that's been around forever. So you mentioned about, knowing how, if you had two sticks and you had to defend yourself, right? You probably could. You're not going to do a box cutter or a flash kick, probably, but you at least have control of the stick, right? So what is it or what is it like when you meet other martial artists? Maybe it's some guy who does jujitsu or someone who does boxing or someone who does, I don't know, Muay Thai. And you're like, hey, I do performance martial arts or I do, competitions. Do you ever have to defend yourself? Like, hey, this is performance martial art. Or like, is it ever weird? Because I feel like sometimes for me, like, I competed too, never even close to your level. But I did a couple national tournaments here and there, and but if I had to go an MMA fight, like, there's no way I would I would be able to hold my own, right? Because you have to train in that in order to be good at that. So, like, what happens when you bring it up to someone who maybe has other martial arts experience and maybe actually fights or something?
Yeah, absolutely. You always get the like look of, I don't know if confusion is the right thing, but a little bit of, oh, you do performance. Well, I can tap you out. I can make you. I'm a fighter. You're a dancer. You're
Yeah,
a cheerleader. Stuff
yeah,
like that. And so initially, sometimes, but martial arts is such a beautiful art, both on the self-defense side and then on the mission side of what we're all trying to accomplish. And so with me being a fourth degree in Taekwondo, I do share the traditional side of things as well that I can talk about. But normally it's explaining, this performance side of martial arts. While I'm not going to be using it or claim that I would use it for self-defense, I can claim that it boosts your coordination, it boosts your hand-eye coordination, it boosts your just overall awareness around you, your reaction, your timing. And when I start explaining it of how it gives you these skills that would be transferable to more of a contact sport, then you get a little bit more buy-in when you call a spade a spade. I'm not going to fight you with this, but it does give me skills that could be applied to more of the self-defense. And then if it's more in like a training atmosphere where, like, why would I ever want to teach sport karate? Why would I ever want to throw a baton up in the air, spin around and catch it? And when you explain that kids look for that fun, they want to be a superhero. They want to have that cool feeling. And if I need to use a shiny stick that they can throw up in the air and spin around to catch it to get them heavily invested in martial arts so that I then have time to teach them the taekwondo, the kickboxing, the jiu-jitsu, the krav, then normally you can find some common ground and then you can build kind of from there, and so
yeah. That's
hopefully that kind of answers it a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great explanation, and that reminds me of a way that I had to learn a hard lesson, which I had a foster dog. Okay, do you have a dog?
I do,
Okay,
yes.
cool. So I never grew up with dogs. So I'm like, okay, I really want a dog. I love dogs. I never had one before. I'll just foster for a bit. My friend was doing it too. And I was like, okay, I'll see what this is like. It's almost like, I don't know, renting a dog, except I'm really helping this dog because now it's not sitting in a shelter, right? So, all right, I'm going to foster. So I foster this dog. And usually when you foster a dog, or I think any pet, they usually have some sort of issue. Maybe it's like heartworm or something that it's not really safe for them to be in a kennel, right? So I didn't know how to give this dog its medication. So I would like open up the medication, I would take it out, and I would like wave it at it, like, oh, here you go, here, eat it. And the dog would like put it in its mouth and then spit it on the floor, and it'd be all disgusting. And then I'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, maybe I'll like run around with it. So I run around the living room, and the dog runs after me, chases me, super excited. Give the dog the pill once again, like licks it, spits it on the floor. And I'm trying all these strategies and I'm trying to figure out like what could I possibly do to make this dog eat the pill. So I call one of my friends, one of my closest friends who's a dog, he has dogs his whole life. And I was like, what do I do to get this dog to eat this pill? Like, I tried pretending it was a treat. I tried doing all these tricks and it wouldn't work. And he like laughed at me and he's like, sometimes you have to give the dog what it wants in order to give it what it needs. Okay. And
Yes.
what I mean by that is he's like, take the pill, put in some peanut butter, and then eat it through there. Put peanut butter on the pill, ate it right away. And if you're a dog owner, you're probably like, duh, what is this guy, an idiot? I had no idea, right? So I feel like that's kind of the
Yep.
same situation. Like sometimes you got to give people what they want, right? They want that flash, right? They want to see someone do a cool, aerial B-twist or something. And then that sparks their interest in martial arts, and then they're able to decide which avenue of martial arts they want to go to. Maybe it's more the combative side, maybe it's more the performance side, maybe it's the more slow, intentional, side for like more like Tai Chi, where it's more about like a moving meditation, right? And they can decide from there. So when you mentioned that, it made me think of that story of like give them what they want in order to get what they need. So,
Yes.
you taught for a long time before you started doing, obviously, competitions, but I wanna get to your professional career, but before we even do that, you were traveling over the world, Budapest, you mentioned, and a bunch of other countries. Were you doing this during your high school or college age? Like, when were you doing this?
So I traveled professionally, competitor, all throughout high school and college. So it was just you just had to make it work, you know. Fortunately, I was homeschooled up through high school, and then I went to college, in-person college and whatnot. And something that I had to do to make it work, because you can't do anything halfway.
Yeah.
Like I think I ended up with like a 3.899 GPA. So like I couldn't just like
Wait,
just
college
you know
or home?
in college.
Okay, okay.
In college, like, I couldn't just do, like, C's, get degrees or whatever,
Yeah,
like, I'm a black belt, I gotta do it,
yeah.
like, so I gotta get good grades, but I also had to miss a lot, so that kinda helped me learn, like, the importance of communication to the professors and teachers of what I am doing. I am gonna miss, but I'll get this to you early, and so it just, having to turn in things while I'm going to Budapest and stuff like that, but, never slowed down.
Was it hard? Were you like, "Damn, this sucks. Like, I wish I had the college experience," or you been happy to be in the competitive world and that was the draw for you?
Um, no, I felt like I was at the college enough to get the college experience, but I also feel like when you weigh that to the experiences that I was getting from traveling the world with some of my mentors and or best friends, it was hard to complain.
Mm.
Like it was a blessing through and through to be able to juggle everything and accomplish all the goals that were kind of set before me.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting that you go that route as a very competitive performance martial artist, especially since like there's not many people that do that, and you obviously have to have like extreme love for it. We had a student, I remember a couple years ago, who was great at martial arts, was like starting to not go to national competitive level, but like was getting good enough to, win first place trophies, at least regionally. And the dad took him out because he said, "Okay, is there gonna be scholarships for karate competitions?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, there's scholarships for baseball," so he's going to baseball. And, like, they left, right? And I had, like, I didn't know how to even answer him, like, because he's right. Like, you can't go to college, to train to be a martial arts educator or teacher, right? There's no degree
Right.
in martial arts. So it's cool that, like, you took a route that maybe there wasn't, like, a paved direct path to a certain career, and because you loved it, and then, like, you make a career out of it because now you have Equipped, which is an online training platform software, right? Or,
Yes,
you
sir.
train your competition team, and that's how you're able to monetize it. That's how you make a living doing what you love in a path that wasn't already paid for you. So I think that's super cool.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So when you were traveling, at some point you stopped competing, I'm assuming. Do you compete now?
I do not compete now.
Okay.
I will say, well, I don't compete in sport karate now. I feel
Okay.
like I compete every day,
Yeah, yeah.
with myself. But I do not actively compete now.
Okay, so at what point did you stop competing? Like, what age were you?
I stopped competing, I think at the tournament that I'm at right now, the Pan American Open or International, back in 2018 or 2019. I'd have to check. It was like I think it was 2019. It was right before COVID and
Uh,
all of that hit. So I kind of like had a little running joke for a period of time. It's like I stopped competing and the whole circuit shut down. But that's when I stopped competing. And the reason for that was at that moment in my life, I was getting out of college, kind of asking like, what else is there to do inside of the sport? Like I'm ready to change up my day-to-day life. Like I was a competitor, I went to school, like what is the next thing for me to do? And at the time it was I need to step away from competition to start to pursue that next level, which coincidentally was equipped at that time. Equipped was just going to be a professional athlete training program online, where instead of just doing private lessons with people at tournaments, it was, we're going to do them weekly. We're going to send notes. We're going to be on top of it. We're going to make this a professional thing. So it was really just time to stop, for lack of better words. There wasn't another Warrior Cup to chase. There wasn't another diamond ring to chase. I was happy at that point in my life. I miss it though.
You do, yeah.
So
Okay. So how old were you when you stopped then?
27 now.
So yeah,
So
20.
that would be
Like 23.
24.
Yeah, 23. Okay,
Yep.
cool. So now do you have that competitive spirit kind of pushed on to the people that you train? Like, does that scratch the same itch or the closest you can get?
Yes, it's different. It's almost like I don't have any kids, but I almost feel like this is what it's like as a parent watching a kid compete. So like I can't go out there and do it for you, but I'm trying to give you all of my energy that I can while I'm watching you compete. And I'm going to try to put you through the things that I was going through. And so it scratches it, but in a different way, I would say.
So with the growth of combative martial arts, whether it's jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, all that stuff, and the UFC, where do you see performance martial arts like you trained in and competed in? Do you feel like the popularity of that is growing? Do you feel like it's shrinking? Do you feel like it's the same? Like, where do you think that's going?
Looking at the numbers this year and kind of the past year, kind of coming out of COVID, it does seem like the NASCA tournaments, the bigger tournaments, they are trending up. You're having record-breaking numbers there. And then also inside of circuits like ProMac, which is a little bit on the smaller scale, you're seeing more people going to these regional events. So numbers are up there.
Like historically up or up since COVID?
Good question. Up since during my competition days.
Okay, so
now, I can't answer to like when Chuck Norris was competing, at the Battle of Atlanta.
I'll call him right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
But as far as when I was there does seem to be more packed night shows. On the revenue side, I feel like I hear people talking about they're bringing in, more revenue that way. So yeah.
So to me, that's surprising. I would assume it'd be shrinking with the popularity of jiu-jitsu, right? So why do you think that is? Why do you think it's still growing?
The best way that I can try to explain the performance side of martial arts is kids like to express themselves and they like to be superheroes. So I think it gives them a way to feel powerful without, like you mentioned, combat sports and everything are going up and people are gravitating into that. But inside of this niche of martial arts, a lot of times these kids don't want to get hit in the face, So it gives them a way to compete in the martial arts without that contact, so to speak. And, parents appreciate the ability to come across as super confident in the work that you've done when you're performing a kata. So like you kind of have like two different competitors. You have a competitor that goes out there, does a performance, they do okay. Maybe you can kind of see there's a little bit of like a reservation with them. And then you have the competitor that the second they step into that ring, it's like, holy crap, I got to watch this person. And like they almost have like energy coming off of them because they're about to own it and their facial expressions are dialed in and they learn how to perform in this invisible opponent fight kind of way that then does kind of go outside of the mat where these kids are learning how to tap into ways to boost their confidence. So I feel that that's kind of where it comes from. Parents are seeing the boosted confidence, and then the athletes are getting to express themselves and do really cool flips and tricks, and that's why it is doing well. Also, the community aspect seems to be stronger than it was when I was competing. You have different teams that are cheering on other teams, and like everyone's rooting for everybody. Um, and so that feeling, that family, that community there, that also kind of attracts from the outside. Of course, you have people that love to be negative and say things and how everything should be better, but at its core, people are finding that family aspect, whatnot, and it's doing well.
Yeah, I remember when I was competing, once again, nowhere near your level. But I remember how much confidence it gave me because I was always a shy kid, always. And whether it's volunteering or raising my hand to demonstrate something in front of a class or competing in front of a group of people, I feel like that's what taught me how to public speak, right? Because you have to use your voice, right? You have to say all the martial arts noises that aren't even real words. And people are always
Yeah.
like, if you can say that out loud in front of a bunch of people that you don't know, just make funny noises and scream it, public speaking is pretty easy, right?
Yes.
So I feel like that gave me the confidence because I never had that before. And I remember like no matter how many times I competed or how confident I was in my kata that I was going to perform, my hands would always shake. My heart would always beat really, really fast. Did you have that same kind of like nervousness or were you just like cool as a cucumber? Because I've seen other people that are just like, doesn't bother them, cool as a cucumber, totally fine. But I was always a mess. How did you feel before you competed?
That never went away, ever. They always nervous. Not from a place of like crippling nervousness, but later in life, I wish I could go back and tell my younger self, like that nerves that you're feeling right now, that's just you wanting to do the best job you've ever done right now and not worrying about how you did in the past. It's you got a crowd to perform in front of, you got a new panel of judges, you got people that are looking up to you. You just want to do a really good job.
Mm.
And so I wish I had that realization earlier.
Mm.
But I, just like you mentioned, my parents would love to make fun of me. I was the super shy kid that wouldn't go order his Happy Meal, did not know how to communicate with people, and then through doing katas, through doing your introduction, through kiaing out in the front yard in front of people, finally got to the point where I can go teach in front of a large group, or I can go public speak, or I can do this. And it kind of taught me that ability to tap into, being able to perform. You always have that like inner shy kid, but I can kind of grow past that. I can move past that. And it taught me one of my methods, if I was feeling how you're mentioning, like nervous and getting, ready for something, I found like the power of like words of affirmation and just like claiming things. So like I would just develop this, I'm going to go out there and crush it. Tonight is my night. I'm going to own it. I'm going to rock it. And I would just say these things over and over again. I'm getting ready to get on this podcast. I'm going to say
That probably took hours of standing in the mirror. I will be the best podcast guest ever. Matt Brenner is going to love me.
Yep, exactly. That was the big thing. I wanted to make sure that I, gained your approval.
That's the only reason I had you on here.
Yes. All right, did it.
Done. Accomplished. So your family is like a martial arts family, right? So who in your family trains? Could go through the family, because I have a lot of siblings. I have 8 siblings. I'm one of 9, and now we have 4 of us that still like are involved or own schools. But the rest of them have all done it at some point, have earned their black belt, or most of them. But not involved anymore. So tell me about like your family's martial arts history.
Absolutely. So I was the first person in our family to do martial arts.
Okay.
Besides Elvis, I guess, he did it to some extent. But
Wait, are you related?
no,
Okay, it's just a joke.
until
Okay,
proven
okay.
otherwise.
I was like,
But
wait a
I,
minute.
I tried to like lead that, just a little bit.
Yeah,
But
I want to see the ancestry
um,
DNA on that one.
yep,
Yeah,
yep. Until proven otherwise, we spell it correctly, just one S.
yeah.
But it wasn't long after that my dad saw a family class with a gentleman and his two sons, and so everybody got involved at that point. Well, at least everyone that was born at that point got involved.
Yeah.
Um, so currently, right now, I have a black belt. My brother Cole is a black belt. My brother Jake is a black belt. My sister Avery is a black belt, and both of my parents have black belts. And
So you have 4 siblings besides you.
yeah, and I have an older sibling, Victoria. She did not do martial arts. She was the only one. But she is also, I say, she's in the education field. She's a vice principal or assistant principal at a local high school. So
Cool.
she's still, investing in, the next generation. But my parents do not practice like train martial arts regularly anymore. They are involved through the martial arts school, but all of the siblings are still involved. Jake and Avery both actively compete and represent Paul Mitchell. All of us, all the siblings that competed, ended up getting on Paul Mitchell at different times.
Very cool. I think maybe we should do an episode with like all the Presley kids who compete or once competed. That'd be really fun.
Yes, that you'd probably get a little bit of banter back and
Oh,
forth,
I'd
but
love to hear
it
it.
would be good.
Well, my family shows love by yelling at each other and making fun of each other. I don't know how your family does it, but that's our love language. Is like little
Yeah,
digs.
very similar,
Yeah.
very similar.
That's first of all that is amazing that your family is so ingrained in the martial arts, and obviously you've made it into a career now. So now that you've obviously transitioned in the last couple of years, you started teaching professionally. I think you were with a martial arts franchise called Premier, right?
Yes, sir.
So how did you end up with them, and how long did that last? Like, what did you do for them? Tell me a little bit about that experience.
Absolutely. So, right about the time that I stopped competing, I ended up moving to South Carolina, kind of that North Augusta area, where a gentleman, Aaron Hensley, lived and had a chain of martial arts schools with Premier. And so I was kind of learning business systems from that perspective there, while also doing Equipped at that point in time. And like, because I had done seminars and I had visited the school before. His son Jackson is actually on Team Competitive Edge right now. He'll be here this weekend competing. And it worked out to where I started teaching inside of some of his schools that were Premier Martial Arts schools. And right around that time is when Premier franchised. And they needed a younger martial artist that also kind of had a business degree to be one of their success coaches, business consultants, things of that nature. So Mr. Hensley ended up kind of suggesting me to Mr. Vanover. And then so that's when I made the trip to Knoxville. I'd met Mr. Vanover in the past, but ended up doing a meeting with him about the job opportunity at the Martial Arts Super Show, and had a meeting there. And it wasn't long. I mean, just getting started was very interesting, just from a travel standpoint. Opportunity came up in conversation. I went to the Super Show, had the conversation with Mr. Vanover, told him I would let him know. Went to Florida for the US Open, one of the big sport karate competition. This is all like within a matter of days, right?
Yeah.
4 or 5 days at each place. Gave him the thumbs up while I was right after the US Open had completed. Let's do this. Ended up going back to Vegas for the UFAF tournament, Chuck Norris. And essentially the start date was going to be like in a month or two, help me get all my ducks in a row. And then he gives me a call and he's like, I need you here on Sunday. So then I had to change my flight, fly back to South Carolina, pack up everything that I had there, get in a car, drive out there. And then that's when the job kind of started on a Sunday.
So what did that
And
position
so
look like? Like you're just an overall coach for the franchises or for one school? Like, what are you actually doing?
So the role kind of evolved as the franchise grew in scale at a crazy rate. So what my responsibilities were as a success coach essentially were you'd have 30 school owners that you're over and kind of managing and mentoring, and then they could have multiple schools. At the end of this, I had roughly 30 school owners, and I believe it's 48 locations that I was kind of like looking at their KPIs, managing, helping training the team, watching their introductory programs, and everything that is with the school, because we had to make sure that we had like cameras everywhere, could see everything. So one, it was making sure that everybody was following the systems that were in place. But back at the beginning of it, it was helping develop the pre-sale launch that would go. So we worked with people in Orange Theory of how we could go through pre-sales and launch, helping develop the corporate trainings and how we would actually train all of these instructors and program directors and new school owners that did not have a martial arts background at scale. How to do some of the sales conferences with new potential franchisees coming in. We were running a corporate class so that we could show people when they visit, like exactly how these classes are supposed to function. And so while I was success coach of managing these locations, I really kind of moved into also doing a large number of their corporate trainings, which were at first 7-day events, but then moved down to 5-day events where we were going over everything from promotional booths, birthday parties, introductory programs, how to meet and greet people, how to line students up, how to maintain discipline in the class, accountability, pace and peak, tonality, music, like just this super intensive corporate training, to where they would then go into pre-sales and then open their school, roughly 2 months or so later. So there was a lot going on, almost to the point where it's kind of hard to put it all into perspective of the moving parts of the role. But in short, consulting the clients that you had, training future instructors, maintaining that quality as much as you could at scale.
So were you working? You were a salary employee at this point, or are you hourly? Salary. So,
Sourly, yes,
okay.
sir.
So did
Salary.
you get like a portion of revenue, or is it just, hey, this is your salary? So it didn't matter how well the schools did or not. Your job is to train them.
Correct. Salary, no bonus or incentive from that
Okay.
perspective.
So were you working like regular 40-hour weeks, or what did that look like?
I would say yes, and then plus. So like when the corporate trainings were like 7 days, there was a lot going on. So you were working a lot,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Did you help create some of those trainings? Like obviously, like Barry Vanover has a lot of business acumen, did really well scaling the franchise. Were you there to create some of these trainings or create some of these systems that maybe they could use to in their schools?
I would say a lot of what was being trained on came from what Mr. Vanover was already doing. So I by no means am going to say that I created this new way of executing a promotional booth, from that perspective. I did have a role in helping kind of develop the pre-sell model that we were going with, because with Orange Theory, there's just some things that are different that doesn't come from just directly a fitness standpoint, mass numbers, that needed to kind of help develop like how you do the launch parties and things of that nature. And then as we went into the corporate trainings, I did help with sharing ideas through the experience that I was having on the floor with Mr. Baker and Mr. Vanover that got us to the corporate training that they were running for a longer period of time.
Mm. So pre-sales were a huge part of school launches.
Yes.
What were some
yes,
of the
sir.
things you guys learned from Orange Theory that you were able to apply that really helped with? Because that's not something we're really good at all. I don't say we don't really do many pre-sales. We just kind of open and go. Sometimes we'll be at a temporary location first, like a church or a rec center or something. That'll kind of be like our pre-sales as we look for a permanent location to move in. But yeah, what did you guys learn to help get pre-sales people to enroll in martial arts before the doors even opened?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was nothing crazy that you wouldn't still do in your normal day-to-day operations. The only difference really was you're not teaching classes yet. So it's the one time in the business where you're focused on marketing and sales, and that's it. That's the only thing that you're worried about. So making sure that you were spending the budget, I believe it was like $3,500 a month to get enough leads. Both the instructor and the program director are attacking the phone, sending out the messages, doing the emails, scheduling the appointments. And then Premier operates with that 2-lesson trial, but that's because of all of the things that go into signing someone up on a normal sale. But with pre-sale, you don't have a school. It's not built yet. They can't feel it. You're working in maybe a space down the street or at a church or a gym or something like that. So we would just do a 1 lesson to sign up. So it was basically a consolidated introductory lesson. Both the instructor and program director are doing it, and they're just on top of it. The average pre-sale was 99 members before opening. And you had some schools that would like blow it out the roof, but the average was 99. So it wasn't so much that there was this crazy strategy that was utilized. It was more so just being hyper focused on doing what you need to do to get the lead volume, to book enough appointments, to sign up enough people with an offer that is hard to say no to. Once the people would sign up, you would do a weekly class at your temp space to keep them engaged so they don't just sign up, get their belt, they're excited, and then they go away while the school is building out. You would have them come in and kind of re-energize their love for it, and you're just being hyper communicative, if that's a word.
Yeah, that's a word.
Now
Yeah.
with the updates of the school build out. So posting the photos of everything. Hey, we got our Wave Masters in. Hey, look at these awesome mats, and just being excited about what you're going to do.
What was the offer that you guys had for people? Were they on full memberships, trial, like 3-month program?
They were on a right to cancel, so they could quit anytime, but it was still basically like a 6-month commitment. But with it being pre-sale, they did have the ability to leave if they wanted to. And there was no down payments or anything like that. You would show kind of what it would be in the future, but it wasn't factored in to them. So it was like $49 to start, and that would get them like their gloves and a drawstring bag and their uniform and stuff like that. And then I believe, depending on the demographic of school, it could be either $99, $119, or $129 a month. And then also that was kind of a sliding scale of, we are 8 weeks out from opening, we're 5 weeks out from opening, we're 3 weeks out from opening, we're open. Some schools did student number based sliding. It's like, all right, we got 50 students, we're going to this. We got 75 students, now we're going to this price point. But yeah.
So how did you feel like your education was with someone who obviously scaled a franchise at a massive scale? I think, how many locations did he have? Or eventually, yeah, how many locations did he have? Do you remember?
Did I have?
No, he had.
It was
yeah, with Premier.
right there at that 42, 48
at that time. Yeah, and eventually he'd have hundreds, right?
Oh, I was just talking about mine.
Yeah.
Like not that I owned them, just the ones that I was kind of responsible for.
Yeah.
At the, oh goodness, there was a large number. I'm spacing out on how many actually opened. It was in the 200s. Went from, it was like 97, 117 up to like 2 something. I apologize.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It was a while ago. So how many years did you spend helping them run their systems and with new locations and stuff like that? How long were you there for?
I was there for 3 years.
3 years. Okay. And then eventually you moved on. So what made you decide to move on and bring back Equipped and bring back, or start, CE karate and start training competitors? What made you decide to move on from that?
It sometimes you hear people talk about how it was just time. You know, I had this feeling that I was ready to do something. Basically, one thing that we ran into was instructor training and helping them understand how to communicate on the floor, how to get the students in, like, loving what they're doing, having an amazing time and building relationships. And I knew that I could do a better job of helping people with that if that was my focus. So where I'm going with that is that's where Equipped kind of got its directive, other than just athlete training, but hey, kids want to do sport martial arts. They love to do the flashy spinning movements. I can use those to then teach instructors how to build confidence on the floor and know how to build relationships. So that's how that transition
Mhm.
happened, was if that makes sense.
Yeah. So when you transition and now you don't have a brick and mortar anymore, right? Now you're traveling to train people, or maybe they travel to you. Did you ever think about opening up just like a brick and mortar school again, like just like you? Or is that not in the cards for you, what you want to do?
Yes, it definitely is in the car. I mean, so much so that I am managing and I'm at the family location. So my family owns a premier martial arts school. So I'm there. That's where, if you follow me on social media, you see me filming inside of that school and posting.
Yeah.
Um, so 100% absolutely. Martial arts has completely changed my life, my family life, that I can't imagine doing anything else. Um, and so 100% will have, school. I mean, yeah.
Okay, cool. So you want to go that direction eventually.
Yes.
So we all know your favorite weapon is Bowstaff. What's your least favorite weapon?
Nunchucks. So when you
Nunchucks.
mentioned the quadruple chucks, I'm like, not for me. That can be a
I was
you
gonna
thing.
train you for free, but forget it.
Oh,
Never
man.
mind. Not give you any. I was gonna
Yep.
send you some
Yep.
videos. I have to equip. Never mind. Why nunchuck? Why don't you like nunchuck?
Um, that it's I never. I don't know. It's just like an innate feeling, Like, I'll do them. Like,
Innate
I'll,
hatred.
I'll yeah, exactly. I think it's maybe some, like, past trauma of having to learn with the helmet on and just, like, hitting myself in the
Okay.
head
Wait,
all
you
the
wore a
time.
helmet when you practiced nunchucks?
Yeah, when
I've
I
never,
was younger,
I've
yes,
never seen
yes.
that before. That, are you sure this
Yep,
wasn't a
yep.
prank on you? Like, give Reid
No,
a helmet. Like,
well, it might have been, because I think I was, like, 9, 10 years old,
yeah, I've never seen anyone
but
do that. That's so funny.
yep, yep.
So they had you put like what, a sparring helmet on or something?
Yes,
Ah, okay.
yes.
That's
I
so
I
funny.
I remember it was at a Chad Chilcutt school outside of Memphis, I believe, and, I just kept hitting myself, so, like, "Hey, I got a solution for you." There you go,
Helmet.
and so
That's so funny. So obviously, if by the way, if you're listening to this and you don't follow Reid yet on social media, Reid, how would they find you?
so I am at Reid Presley on basically the main ones: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, I believe Twitter as well. So it's just at ReidPresley.
Cool. So if you haven't followed him yet, make sure to do that, because when you see his instructional videos that he uses for Equipped and posts like little videos how to do different martial arts movements, they're super cool and explains it in a way better way than I ever could. So if you're listening to this right now, stop listening, press pause, go follow him, then come back and press play. So obviously you have a social media presence, especially within the martial arts world. What do people not what do people not know about Reid Presley? Like, what is something that people don't know about you that they should know?
Man, that is tough, because I right now I love working out, I love martial arts, and I love teaching, and that's really what I share on my social media platforms. So that it is kind of cut and dry like that. If I had to pick one thing that maybe I don't talk a lot about is I'm really good at Call of Duty.
Okay.
When I ruptured my Achilles, I could not do anything for a long time. So Modern Warfare 3 was out, and I got a lot of practice doing that. So
You play on PC or PlayStation or
I'm an Xbox person,
Xbox guy?
through and
Okay.
through.
All right, cool.
Yep.
I play one video game, and that one video game is FIFA. I play against one friend, maybe like once a month. We'll play a couple games. We play online against each other, and that's it. So if you ever play FIFA, I'm out of you. If you want to play Call of Duty, I got nothing. I've played
There you go.
before.
Well,
I'm just terrible. Obviously you have to do that consistently.
we can just do like a little tournament. You pick a game, I'll pick a game, and then we'll just
God,
reload.
I'm just gonna be terrible, but I'm in. I'm definitely in. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a couple of just like random questions. As I'm just curious what your answers are gonna be. Kind of give you something a little bit different to talk about than maybe what you usually put on social media. So first one is, in what ways do you think we are similar?
In what ways do I think that you and I
Yeah, you
are
and me.
similar? Man, that is a interesting question.
Well, then obviously you don't know me very well either, right? You listen to the podcast a couple times, maybe connect on social media. We never had any real long conversations. Maybe very, very short in the past. But that's it. So I'm curious, what's like top of the head? How do you think we're similar?
I would say, one thing is like it seems, and I don't know, pretty transparent. As I was going through some of your socials, it's pretty accurate with what you're doing. Like I think one of the videos you recently posted was about like, hey, if you guys are doing any kind of promotional events at your school, make sure that you put the name of your school on the belt. It's a really great idea. You should do it. Or your man, it was something that you like wrote. You just share with what's going on.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. So like that transparent feeling. You seem to have a way of talking and asking questions that makes people kind of comfortable to share. So looking at no matter who you're talking to, people get more comfortable and want to open and talk about it. No matter what their background is.
Cool.
So
I appreciate you saying that.
transparent and good to talk to.
I appreciate you saying that. Whenever I meet someone new, that's the thing they always say about me. Because like they'll end up talking about very personal things. Like, how did I get on this? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just asking. I think also a lot of it is like I'm willing to share basically anything. So because I'm willing to share, I assume everyone else is, even though there might not be. But once I share something, now they feel compelled to. So, but it builds a lot of trust. So that's cool. All right. Here's the next question. Would you rather be stuck? Well, okay, I'm going to rephrase that. Would you rather spend 1 year at the North Pole or 2 years in the Sahara Desert?
I'm going to go with 2 years at the Sahara Desert.
Okay, 2 years Sahara Desert. Our next one. Would you rather have cheese covered fingers for the rest of your life or a popcorn kernel stuck in your throat the rest of your life?
Oh, man. I'm going to go with that kernel. That's rough. I'm not going with that. We'll go with
cheese curl covered fingers.
Tongue twister you said before that.
The cheese covered fingers?
I guess so.
Good luck double Bowstaff in that. Oh my god.
I guess I have cheese. Oh, you're saying I have
cheese covered fingers. Like you don't eat cheese curls or like Cheetos. You got the cheese in your fingers. Like you have that forever.
Oh, man.
Or you have a popcorn kernel like kind of stuck in your throat forever.
I don't know. I might be able to use like that to my advantage with the weapons. I don't know. Well, I'm gonna stick to my answer.
All right. Well, next time you're practicing your Bowstaff, eat a big giant bag of Hershey cheese curls. Next one. This is not a funny one. Just like a little bit different tone. What book do you feel like has shaped your career the most? Or maybe what book has impacted you the most? It doesn't really have to be career.
I would say the one that comes to mind like immediately is Atomic Habits. And really one thing from the book that stood out was your environment is the invisible hand that shapes you, or something like that. And that, I feel, if you truly understand that, can be profound.
Very cool. All right, last one. Complete this answer. I feel most alive when.
Same time, immediate, is competing on a stage or performing to some extent, and teaching a class. Those are almost interchangeable. And as a fellow instructor, and other instructors will know, like, when the class is rocking and kids are getting it, they're having the aha moments, parents are paying attention, like, it's just cool, you know?
Yeah, you get that buzz, right?
Yeah, it's like, all right, boom,
Cool.
on to the next.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on here. So once again, for people who stuck around to the end, how can they find you?
You can find me at Reid Presley on all of the social media platforms. The main one that I really focus on is Instagram. I feel like I can communicate and share more authentically on that one. And yeah.
Cool. So thank you for listening. My name is Matthew Brenner. If you have any questions or want to reach out, you can find me on Instagram at blackbeltbrenner1, or you can email me, matthew@doubleyourdojo.com. If you're a martial arts school owner and you want to learn organic strategies for growing your school without ads, and want to learn how to grow your school organically through schools, daycares, and businesses, that's what I do. I teach you how to have an evergreen strategy for growing your martial arts schools, not by throwing money at Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and Meta, but by earning new students. So you can do it over and over every single year instead of having to make a new ad every couple of months. Reach out to me. I'll show you how to do it. Reid, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Bye, guys.